and gentlemen, Token Metrics customers, Happy New Year. Other than people holding Bitcoin and crypto, I wonder what's so happy about it. So let's talk. Let's talk the market update. Bitcoin, all right, the question of the hour. So will it keep going? It could. We're looking at a target of 45K, but by March. Okay. Now, obviously, Bitcoin can do whatever it wants, but we're sort of wondering if it isn't a little bit overdone, and we'll know if it's overdone by how it behaves around a GAN line at 37 or 38K. Now, for chart people out there or non-chart people, there are a lot of these lines, those black lines you see there. That's pretty much how all the professional guys are charting Bitcoin. I even had a TV show host tell me he was bored with seeing it. Naturally, we want to keep it fresh for you, so I mixed it with those diagonal GAN lines. And it usually works pretty well in markets that behave like this. So 37K matters in Bitcoin. Now, let me say something about Bitcoin dominance, okay? So for the massive rally in Bitcoin, obviously ETH participated, and Bitcoin dominance never went through 70. I mean, it went through 70, but it has not been able to achieve a weekly close above it. And if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, that stochastics picture really argues that Bitcoin dominance is not only done going up, but could actually fall apart and go lower. Now, for altcoin traders, that's like, oh, wow, yes, finally, we're going to get to play. And I truly hope that is the case, because we are Token Metrics. We are the altcoin research company. However, as things stand on January 10th, after watching the events of today, it feels like today was like a week in a day. It was a flash crash, came all the way back, and now I don't know if it's going to flash crash again. One thing I would tell you about Bitcoin dominance is Bitcoin dominance can go down if Bitcoin gets hammered. Yes, that's right, if Bitcoin gets hammered. Ethereum is still wildly undervalued and underappreciated, in our opinion, right? One of our YouTube colleagues said it perfectly when he said Ethereum is going to be a household name by the end of the year. So if you want the 2021 preview in one sentence, I think he gave it to us, right? But this whole idea that, you know, Bitcoin could go to 250,000, yeah, that's a good idea. But a lot of people could get washed out. Now, how would that happen? Well, there was FUD this morning on Tether. There's always FUD every 6 months on Tether, though. I did understand that Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, and essentially practically the inventor of the modern Fed printing press, along with Bernanke, said, or rumored to say, that she didn't really like Bitcoin. Because keep in mind, Bitcoin at 10K, Bitcoin at 20K, Bitcoin at 50K is embarrassing central banks. So they might have a few things to say about it. And that could cause a little volatility when people have been used to having it go up every day. You know, people are like, well, I'm hodling for the long term. You know, that's easy to say when it's going up 5% every day. But what happens if it gets choppy? What happens if the president comes out and says something that's not friendly towards business? So if you long a bunch of Bitcoin and you've had a lot of fun in crypto, you want to start thinking about the fact that a new president is being inaugurated on January 20th. That is 10 days from today. And in my opinion, holding less crypto than you've been holding, and definitely not, let me say that again, not being leveraged long for the next 10 days would be smart. Okay, now next chart. Okay, so I guess everyone out there, including our international audience, saw what happened in Washington, D.C. A large group of people, I guess the word is stormed the Capitol building. If you're not an American, the best story I can tell you about it is that I have a friend who called me and said that when she watched it on television, she sat in front of the TV and cried. That's kind of how serious an event it was. So on Sunday, January 10th, I'm challenged with the opportunity to say, well, what am I going to say about this that's not going to make the left upset or the right upset? Because we're neither, we're in crypto. So this is a tweet from one of the top 5 smartest people I know. His name's Michael Krieger, and he runs a Twitter called Liberty Blitzkrieg. And he put here 1776 to 2021. America started in 1776, and he's essentially implying it ended in 2021. And he's never been a big fan of printing money, and he says it didn't have to go this way. So that's an idea about the national mood. Now you're like, Bill, we're in crypto. What does that have to do with us? Okay, it has a lot to do with us because interest rates matter. Anybody who's been watching this show knows that in 2018, I argue that one of the reasons why Bitcoin went from 20 to 3K was because interest rates were rising throughout the year. And now that the Democrats control both the House and the Senate, everyone is expecting the Democratic Party to just simply hand out money. They're expecting 2K stimulus checks, okay, etc. Now, I don't know whether you know this or not, but inflation is on the rise. Bitcoin maximalist Charlie Shrem recently noted on Twitter that the cost of his morning breakfast taco went up at least 10%. This afternoon, I just paid $16 for a cheesesteak sandwich and a handful of French fries. $16. Inflation, particularly food inflation, is exploding in the United States. Now, what happens when inflation goes up? Well, normally the Federal Reserve would hike interest rates. This goes back to the ancient history of economics pre-printing press. Well, folks, the Fed's not going to be hiking rates or short-term rates. But the thing is, long-term interest rates, like the one we're seeing here on the 10-year government bond, that's not controlled by the Federal Reserve. That's controlled by Mr. Market. And bond yields, as you can see by that fat green candle on a weekly basis, bond yields are rising. Okay? Bonds hate inflation. Bonds hate indiscriminately handing out money and fiscal irresponsibility. Now, we don't want anybody out on the street. No one does. But the fact of the matter is, if there's a perception that the US government is not financially responsible, bonds will go down and bond interest rates will go up. All right. So you might be saying, oh, okay, I get the 2018 bonds and crypto parallel, but I don't know. I'm not totally convinced. Okay, understandable. I wasn't either until I looked at this. This is the dollar index. Now, it's assumed worldwide that the dollar is basically going to zero, right? Bitcoin's going to 250K and the dollar is going to disappear. Conceptually, philosophically, I'm with you. Technically, chart-wise, though, I'm looking at this and I see this tremendous bottoming candle in the dollar. I see momentum indicators hinting that if interest rates rise and sort of a mini financial crisis and legacy ensues, that the dollar could also rise. Because remember, people don't just grab Bitcoin when there's a crisis. People actually grab the dollar in the legacy world. So what would happen if Bitcoin was massively overbought Everyone was in love with it. The government hated it. And then something happened that made the dollar go up out of nowhere. Especially when you have risk of politicians and central bankers who are all taking office headed for the microphone. So I'm like, oh my God, if you got money in these trades, you better seriously thinking about taking it, because obviously crypto is going to continue to go up, but that doesn't mean that in bull markets, you can't have a multi-day or multi-week shakeout. I mean, 10 days in crypto between now and the inauguration, or like 10 days before and 5 days after. I mean, 15 days of uncertainty in crypto, that's an eternity. That's an eternity. Okay, let's talk more about uncertainty and how we can manage it. Our Australian listeners will no doubt remember that some of the COVID restrictions that led to their successful quarantine and reduction in virus cases, part of that, I believe, in certain areas of the country, where you couldn't travel more than 5 miles from your house to get supplies. So it wasn't just stay home, it was stay home and don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere far, okay? You get pulled over by the police and you're more than 5 miles from your address, I'm assuming something not so good happened. I just saw an article that a new travel advisory is telling Californians to stay within 120 miles of their house, meaning the US government may be entering a phase where some sort of freedom of movement is going to be limited. Okay. Americans are used to being able to go across state lines. They're used to being able to go wherever they want, say whatever they want. Okay. Well, I was going to talk about, hey, this could happen, hoping no one would think I was crazy. And here's the headline from California. So here's a question. What happens if Joe Biden takes the podium and says, the virus is out of control and America's closed? And you decide that you're going to go get on a highway the next morning and there's a tank on it. The road's closed. This is something that you have to think about that no one is talking about, which is a second shutdown. And this shutdown, okay, could last until all the healthcare workers and elderly people and first responders in the United States are vaccinated. And this, of course, assumes the vaccine even works. I'm not a doctor, but every day there's a new strain of this thing floating around. Now, the blogosphere sensationalizes it, but the fact of the matter is the numbers in the United States are appalling. They're out of oxygen tanks in Los Angeles. Frankly, if these virus numbers are true, if I was the president of the United States, I would start looking at COVID as a national security issue, because that's how many people are getting sick. Okay. So this whole idea of a disturbance in capital markets, yes, central banks are going to continue to print money. Yes, crypto is the future. Yes, people have to use PayPal and the crypto in PayPal so that they can keep up with rising food prices. I get all that. Okay. At Bitcoin at 16 or 20K, it was kind of a no-brainer to be long. But with Bitcoin at 40K, with all this uncertainty picking up, you have to start asking yourself, is it time to take the money off the table so I can save it, so I can buy the dip in Ethereum or buy the dip in DeFi? Because as we continue to believe, and we're assuming you believe it, that's why you're watching altcoin TV, is that the next big move is in decentralized finance, right? If America is 1776 to 2021, rest in peace, the next huge thing is decentralized finance. Okay, so speaking of some good news, let's talk Ethereum versus Bitcoin. I have been pounding the table with this chart for, I don't know, at least 3 months. Ethereum versus Bitcoin is making a major low. I think you are going to see a massive rally in Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Now, remember, this metric can go up in a lot of different ways. Like Ethereum could sit still and Bitcoin could retest 20,000. Because again, I know that sounds crazy, but 20,000 was such a huge all-time high. There's no reason why they can't flush Bitcoin out to say 32K. Now, I don't think it's going to go down to 20,000. Okay. But I didn't think anybody was going to storm the Capitol last week either. Okay. So Ethereum is going to do much better than Bitcoin. Big alts and anything in DeFi, which could be small alts that we don't know about yet, and from the Polkadot system, that's the next big trade. Now, one of those small alts, just so I can keep it happy, seems to be Ren, right? Ren continues to make this series of little ones and twos. It goes up, it pulls back, it goes up, it pulls back, and it's done it so many times that I'm almost like, I got to bring this up because it's almost like now or never, right? It's going to rally soon or it's not going to rally. The setup is great. Okay. And I do think Ren is a good story, both for DeFi on Ethereum, DeFi on Polkadot, and frankly, just DeFi everywhere. Because it's like a tollway between blockchains. Okay. And the shuttle bus between Polkadot and Ethereum. So, if I'm doing DeFi, I'm watching this because it seems at least relatively stable. Now, let's go back to an old theme from the Santa broadcast and even before that, where I was discussing crypto and PayPal and things like Litecoin, which no one likes, and Bitcoin Cash, which no one likes, and XRP, which no one liked, and then they liked it, and then the government went after them, and Dash, which was, popular in Venezuela, but I pounded the table on that until I just couldn't talk anymore. Lo and behold, these currencies exploded over the last week. Okay. Bitcoin Cash went to the target that I drew on a diamond of 600. And it basically did it all in a week. Okay. Now, part of me is like, well, it's just going to keep going. It's just going to smoke higher. Because when Bitcoin Cash goes on a face melting rally, it really melts faces. But the thing is, folks, with Bitcoin Cash, Sunday, January 10th, you were long something that went from 320 to 600 in a week. Should you take the money? Yes. Now, if I'm wrong, and Bitcoin Cash goes back to its all-time high of like 1,500, in other words, if Bitcoin Cash goes Ethereum, then perhaps you can jump back in. But if you made money, take the money. Dash. Now, I have talked sometimes about the fact that everyone thinks bull markets are easy street. Like you just sit there and it goes up every day. And I guess the recent Bitcoin rally could lead you to believe that. But frequently, bull markets are such a pain in the ass, right? You'll know something's going up. You'll like it. You'll pound the table. You'll be like, it's going up, it's going up, it's going up. And then what it does is it shakes everyone out. I've talked about this. Everybody gets washed out. Everyone goes, oh, I'm stopped out. And then it goes. So Dash, right? Privacycoins are no good. Oh my God. And then the next thing you know, Dash turns around and goes to 200 and prints 200 on Coinbase, which is the target of a diamond formation, just like Bitcoin Cash. The future of money trade was done I talked about it for months and it happened in days. Now, if this market continues to go up or there's like an alt season, Do I think Dash could go back to 200? Yes, I do. But am I going to jump in now? I don't think so. Right. I mean, if I was long it at 80, I would wait, but would I chase it at 143? Probably not. Even though I know it's a part of the future of money, there's always a dip. Nothing goes straight up forever. Now, speaking of going straight up, here's the one we all, sort of, everyone loved to hate it. And then, I hated to love it, but I couldn't help it. I just loved Litecoin, right? Now, I haven't said much about Litecoin, but here on January 10th, I'm seeing Litecoin around 173. And it looks like Litecoin's put in a perfectly good double bottom and could take off for 275. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy. And if you bought a bunch of Litecoin at 70 and wanted to take the profit at 173, I wouldn't blame you. Take the money. But if you're a believer and if Bitcoin slows down, Litecoin has a mind of its own, right? I would be surprised if Litecoin went up while everything else went sideways or went down. So this is a nice way of telling you that Litecoin could go to 275. Bitcoin and Ethereum might move around sideways, lower, choppy. Oh my God, politics. But folks, people are going to log into PayPal and they're going to see Bitcoin at 35K a unit, Ethereum at 1,200 a unit, or Litecoin at 175 a unit. It's going to be, just unit bias in terms of people liking Litecoin. Plus, I think it's a question of time before you see coffee shops start accepting Litecoin. So I don't know that I want to necessarily chase any cryptocurrency right now, but if you're like Bill, you have to chase one coin or two coins or three coins. I would actually vote to buy Litecoin if it bursts through resistance I have at 180. Okay, now Privacycoins on Sunday, January 10th have taken off. Okay, everyone hated them. Now I guess everyone likes them again. And I just wanted to point out on this chart, the Monero price prediction that, I didn't think Monero was going to go this high, but honestly, if I look at the weekly chart, it could go to 206. So if there is a Monero price prediction, it's 206 if it keeps going. Now, always trying to find what's positive, right? Because, if Bitcoin does hold or if it takes out 40K again, and we just all march on. I did notice that I think we had a pretty good quant grade on Binance Coin. And I noticed Binance Coin took out its high, came back and retested it. So this is wonderful news for anybody who thinks Bitcoin dominance is going to go down because alts are going to go up, right? I would love to see 1,500 Bitcoin Cash and every DeFi blue chip follow it. So there's a lot of hope in Binance Coin because it broke the old high and then retested it successfully. So that's good news. All right, now the question everyone's going to ask, and everyone does ask, is what about XRP? Well, what can I say about XRP? Well, not much other than the chart, as in what I'm allowed to say. So once upon a time, before XRP took off, I was looking at this 30-cent level as the key level that XRP had to sort of take out in order to go up. Well, wouldn't you know, here we are, and XRP is right back at 30 cents. So if XRP is above 30 cents, the chart is okay. Now, what happens with its legal problems, I don't know. But there's a part of me that's wondering, gee, it's really interesting that it seems to hold this 30 cents level. You would think, oh my God, with these legal documents, it would be worse. So XRP, that whole idea of XRP being included in the future of money, obviously we're not doing that. I'm not doing that theme now because of the regulatory implications, but I'm going to leave you with one question about XRP. What happens if Ripple Inc. is actually able to settle the case and then reorganize XRP into something that is more favorable with the government, right? In other words, I know the case against XRP and Ripple is not good, but maybe there is such a thing as a positive resolution under a new administration. So if XRP can hold its ground, maybe that's positive for crypto as a whole. Okay, Polkadot, DeFi. Let's talk about it. As you can see on this chart, this is a 2-day chart of Polkadot. Now, it's been quite a wild range between 8.5 and 10.5, and this has been going on now for like a week. And sometimes it looks like Polkadot's like winding up, winding up, winding up, winding up. You know, we had $9 as a target. We have resistance around 11.5, but Polkadot just keeps winding up, winding up, winding up. I think Polkadot can be at 14 by March. I think Polkadot can actually be a lot higher than that. Because let's face it, folks, DeFi is going to be so big. As soon as I saw all this stuff in Washington, D.C., I was like, decentralized finance. Not DeFi as in like the casino where you like roll the dice. No. Okay. I'm talking about decentralized finance being a mainstream investing idea. Now, in that case, ETH, DOT, Kusama, Cardano, all of these players, even Omisigo, all of these coins can go up. The question is, when do you get in? Do you chase it as it's going up over the next 15 days? My answer would be no. Let the political uncertainty do you a favor, perhaps give you a dip the way there was a dip this morning, right? Now, sometimes you only get one dip, and some days you get a dip that lasts 12 days that makes you cry if you didn't sell or take any profits. Both I have seen in bull markets in equities. I've seen these one-day flash events, and then I've seen these blowouts that occur over a couple of weeks. So this is something to consider if you've made life-changing money on this rally. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is this. We're going to hope for the best. We're going to hope Bitcoin stays above 38K and ETH just smokes to the upside and takes every DeFi coin you could ever think of with it. That's hoping for the best. But we're going to prepare for the worst because in the United States, there's a lot of political uncertainty. There are a lot of people who are upset. There are a lot of problems with the virus. And Bitcoin and crypto are not immune from things that can cause problems in the American financial system. So be optimistic about 2021, but manage risk wisely. If you look at a position and say, should I take profits? You have answered your own question. And that's the market update.
All right. Thank you, Bill. That was amazing. Great way to kick off 2021.
Right on.
If you have any questions or comments, just post them down in the chat. We'll also be taking questions via Mentimeter. Let me share the code. So, actually, I already did share the code in the chat, but go to menti.com, menti.com. Use the code 1156238. That's 1156238 to submit your questions. And let's see what people have to see. VK says, I missed Bill's voice. Yep, I think we all did. Very soothing, especially in this climate. Baron says, fantastic, thank you. Thank you, Alpha Diallo. What's up, Sean? All right, Andre says, love Bill. All right, so if you enjoyed that market update, be sure to subscribe, turn on alerts, smash the like button, and share this video with the crypto family. As we mentioned before, make sure you get your crypto family or people who aren't even in crypto onto Noah's Ark, because this is the biggest wealth transfer in human history. And now is the best time to get people on board because unfortunately people are more willing to come on board when they see Bitcoin go from 3,000 to 40K in less than 1 year. Right? So now is the best time to get them on board. So definitely make sure you get them on board. And if you haven't yet already, you should also join Token Metrics and become a customer.